Thanks for tuning to the ReShard Show. Today we have a vessel for God's message. She's a Canadian multi-award-winning artist and Juno-nominated Christian gospel singer, songwriter, and producer. We play several of her songs, such as "I Don't Want It," "Under My Feet," "Trust Fall," "Provider" with Kagan. Um, also, we play a host of others. But here to talk about her music journey and her faith in God, we have the one, the only, Elenee.
Hi, y'all. Hey, hey.
Yes, and just so you know, yes, I did practice her name like multiple times because I didn't want to
Did a
screw it
great
up.
job.
I didn't want to screw it up, so that's a moment of transparency.
Did awesome. Great job. Round of applause.
Yes, it probably goes wow. Of course, this is your first time being on the show. So to break the ice, who is Elenee away from the music and the accolades?
Ooh, such a good question. Definitely just a regular Josephine. Just your regular girl. I'm pretty normal. Actually, no, I'm not
Mhm.
normal at all. I'm pretty weird. But aren't we all? We're all a little
Yeah,
bit. We
yeah.
all have a little loose screws up in there. I am an entrepreneur, a mom. I am a
Hmm.
wife, of course,
Hmm.
and just yeah, I don't know. Just loving life and trying to be the best version
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
myself in terms of, being a mom and
Hmm.
serving the Lord in
Hmm.
the capacities that make sense in this season and just trying to make the best of it all.
Hmm. And of course, what inspired you to even want to get into the music industry? Because as you know, the music industry can be up and down, um, whether it's with bookings, whether it's with the different ins and outs you have to deal with as an artist. Like, what inspired you to even want to say, like, okay, I know I heard these different things, but I want to do this, and I want to remain in this as well. So, can you share that?
I have this weird thing, like, I don't know if people wake up one day and they just choose to pursue the music industry. I think the music industry as a whole is something that just comes with the territory of wanting to pursue music. And so for me, it's really no different. Like I woke up one day as a very, very young girl and I was just like, I want to do music. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if it means, being just a songwriter because I was writing songs so much earlier than I was like, performing them, I guess. And so I don't know if that looked like me being a songwriter for other artists or if it was
Hmm.
being the artist. I didn't know. I also grew up in like the Disney Channel era where
Yes.
everybody was like their dream was to be a triple threat. And so
Yes.
I was just like, I want to be Miley Cyrus or Hannah Montana. I want to be all, whatever. And so yeah, I mean, I guess I just wanted to be when I was young, it was like I want to be famous. I want to be on TV. I want to be a singer. I don't know what that looks like, but I just want to pursue something that involves music. And I did theater when I was young and music lessons really, really early. Like I think I started when I was 3 in a piano class. And yeah, and then the music industry just happened. And I don't know how I feel about it. I'm
Hmm.
not I wish that I could tell people like well, I can tell people. I could tell them right now. If you want to be in the music industry, like you have to develop some really tough skin. And I don't
Yes.
know
Hmm.
if I've got that yet. Like I don't know.
Hmm.
I still take things really personally. I'm still not so good at learning from failure or
Hmm.
they say like if you were 19 failures away from your breakthrough, like how fast would you want to get through those failures? And I'm just like,
Hmm.
I don't know if I could do it. Like it's so hard. But yeah, you got to put one foot in front of the other, as
Hmm.
my song says, and you got to just do
Hmm.
it. And it gets, I guess, easier in
Hmm.
some regards, and it gets extremely, extremely difficult the further
Hmm.
you get into it. So I'm somewhere in between all of that.
And thank you for your honesty, because a lot of people that would give that cliche answer, like, "Yeah, it's lovely,"
It
but
ain't. Don't listen to those people. Like they're not telling you the truth. The music industry is it's hard, and I don't want to say
mhm,
it's like bad because it's just a business and you are the
mhm,
product. And so
yeah,
you have to be okay with turning into a product. Your art needs to
mhm,
align with other people's idea of what art is.
Hmm.
And if
Yes.
you want to make a return on investment, which most artists I would say probably do, then you
Hmm.
have to appeal to the machine and you have to just,
Yes.
it's 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 a costly venture in so many
Hmm.
more ways than money. And if you don't have, like
Hmm.
I said, if you don't have that tough skin, if you're not okay with, criticism, and if
Hmm.
you're okay, sorry, I should say, if you're not okay with failure and learning from your mistakes, then you're not going to last long. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, and that's God's honest truth. I've been in situations where I guess the quote unquote, the people that make decisions, like, yeah, this is great, and then, or that try to throw out a bad contract, and then of course, a lot of younger artists, they don't necessarily read the contracts. They just be so hyped that somebody offered it when they just find pretty
Mhm.
much life away in a sense, and by the time year 10, like, hey, I haven't received money from our debut
Yeah.
album yet, not knowing, yeah, all those masters and all that stuff belong to um, the labels, if you're not careful. So,
Yeah.
again, I definitely appreciate you sharing your honesty and transparency, and outlook on things. Hopefully, don't get you in any trouble. but,
I will
but
say though, like on that note, really briefly, like I feel like because how do I word this? It's become so um talked about and
mhm,
mainstream.
mhm,
All the um like not the coercion, what's the word I'm trying to think of, like the dishonesty from the labels.
mhm,
Like you're hearing
mhm,
about, Taylor Swift and how she didn't own her masters, and so she just re-recorded because it was so important to her that she owned her masters, that she like invested in like the exact same albums 3 or 4 different times. And so like, and you hear all this stuff about Justin Bieber and Scooter Braun and all these people and these big players. And I feel like labels now are moving away from that traditional label trajectory that they had for themselves. And they're saying, like, okay, they're on to us. Like artists know now that we're not always the good guys. And so there have been a lot of really cool, and I want to say that Christian music really has like spearheaded a lot of this. They're saying like we don't want to be dishonest in what we're doing, because we are like, we're businesses, but we are also trying to serve God as well. And so I can't speak for all of them. I can only speak for the ones that I've, had conversations
yes,
with. And
mhm,
and it seems like a lot of them are trying to move away from that traditional label format and go into something that makes a lot more sense for artists. And so they're like leasing masters instead of owning them. And they're,
mhm,
giving people, a 3-year timeline instead of like, 25 to life or whatever that looks
mhm,
like. And so it's super cool to see that, it's taken some of these big players who have, just been really vocal about the struggles, and you just see that domino effect. And it affects like little artists like me who are working technically with kind of I wouldn't say a label, but like a distribution agreement with people. And
mhm,
and it benefits me a lot, and it
yes,
benefits them as well, because it's like a mutual agreement versus like sign your life away, we own you
mhm,
and you can never get
mhm.
out. So anyways, just a little sidebar because I wanted to make sure that like not all labels,
No,
especially
no.
today, are bad, or like the machine isn't all bad. It's just
Mhm,
like I said, at the end of the day, you just gotta have thick skin.
mhm, indeed. And of course, you have your own unique sound. You don't sound like a Lauren Daigle. You don't sound like Kim Walker Smith or CeCe Winans. You have your own thing going. So, in your own words, how would you describe your signature sound?
Ugh, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. Um,
Mhm,
I grew up listening to so much music.
mhm,
Like, music was just so embedded. It's like in my DNA. I don't know. I listened to everything from like Queen, ABBA, like some cool 70s like Bee Gees disco music.
yeah.
Loved that. And
Mhm,
then and then it was Mariah, and it
mhm,
was Jasmine Sullivan, which I guess
mhm.
she's not that far back, but
No.
Destiny's Child,
Mhm,
TLC, and like
mhm,
then it was that, and then it was like my grandparents that were living with us were in a country music band, and
mhm.
it was like
Nice.
they would do these jamborees where my grandfather would yodel
Mhm,
and play the
mhm,
accordion, and it was just like then there's that. Like I grew up on 90s country
Nice.
and so I am this like conglomerate of these like influences that have like deeply impacted me. And what does that
Hmm.
sound like? Well, it sounds like Elenee. And if you listen to my music, there's little pieces of everything in all of
Hmm.
it. And I'm
Hmm.
sure that somebody wouldn't be able to like dissect it and say, "Oh yeah, she's got some disco, 70s disco, and yeah, she's got some classic rock and vinyl.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's got country." Like there's not this like real separated string of influence, but when I sing, I can kind of just mirror whatever the song needs. So, like,
Hmm.
I don't know if mirror was the right word, but if
It
the
did.
song is calling for something a little bit more poppy, then I can do that.
Hmm.
If something is calling
Hmm.
for a little bit more ballad and like 80s ballad, like Trust Fall, very 80s ballad, I was like, I can
Hmm.
do that. You need something a little more country. Consistently is one of those
Hmm.
examples. Consistently we didn't even plan for it to be country, but then like as I was singing it, I was like, no, this feels like a song I would have heard in the 90s. And then we actually
Yeah.
have a version coming out that has a fiddle on it because I was just
Oh
like,
wow.
we have to ride that wave. Like it
Yeah.
needs to really line up with what I
Hmm.
imagined for it. And so
Hmm.
it's cool. I would say like in some ways it's a superpower. In other ways
Yes.
it's like haunting because then
Hmm.
I don't feel like I have this one vocal that I can like consistently stick to. And that drives me crazy. Like it's like I can manipulate it to be other things, but for me to say at the end of the day, this is my singing voice, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question or
Yeah,
not.
it does. It does. It does. And then, of course, when it comes to your songwriting, what is your approach? Like, do you have to have the music first, or do you hear lyrics first? Like, what is your approach to songwriting?
Oh, I'm a melody girl through and through. Um, Sometimes I'll sit in a write, like if I'm co-writing with people, and I just like I need to buy into the melody before I can like help lyrically, which is probably a weakness of mine. So sometimes, actually no, all the time, and the people that I write with now the most, they know. They're like, "Oh, Elenee, she needs like a 5 minute break." Like I'll literally turn like this is my interface. I'll turn everything down. I'll mute myself. I'll turn them down, and then I'm just gonna sit here like, and this will be my face. Like I'm on the right, and I'm just sitting there like this, and I'm just like trying to figure out the melody. They've like moved on to a whole different part of the song, but I'm just like, I have to lock into this melody before anything else makes sense. And then when I do, I'm like, okay, we're in. Yeah, we're good now. I'm back.
Yeah.
Hi. I figured something else. Like, what if we change this? So I'm melody. I also have like 800 notes in my phone of just lyrics that are like very much just incomplete sentences or like verbal. I don't want to say it on air or like just a lot of like I'll just whatever comes from my head, I just put it
Hmm.
onto this note and I'm like, I'll come back to that. Like, because it's just
Hmm.
something I have to process and I let
Yes.
it out onto paper, if you will. And then I dump it. That's what I call it, like a mind dump. And then I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I'll come back to that. And oftentimes when I'm in a write with other people,
Hmm.
I can say like confidently, I have like 800 song starts. So like if you want me to contribute, like here's what I'm feeling like could work in this right. Or, they'll say, okay, let's write a song about whatever. And I'm just like, I have a note about that. And so I just like tuk, 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 go through my
Yes.
notes and I'm like, okay, perfect. I can contribute this.
Hmm.
And like if they like it, they like it. If they don't, then we just come up with something organically on the spot. But yeah,
Hmm.
I'm sort of just I don't know. I be what I need to be in the
Hmm.
rooms. When I'm by myself, I'm
Hmm.
strictly like singing melodies all day long. And then
Hmm.
sometimes I'll come back to them and put words with it, or I'll just keep them and sing them and sometimes they end up songs. So,
Indeed. And then, of course, looking back on your catalog of songs, in your opinion, what do you consider like the best song you ever wrote or most impactful?
okay, let's see. Oh my gosh, I can't. I can't. Okay.
That
I
you
think
put you on the spot.
so one of my favorite so there's two songs would strike me as like the most n- um not notable, but like recognizable. So the song I Don't Want It, it actually made it onto Sirius XM. And I think it's because it has this really catchy like na na da da na all around, all around. That's my like R&B roots coming out a little bit. Like we had a little fun with that. Like that bridge to me is so fun. And so that's one. And then No Place Here has such a fun chorus. Like, and so those two songs are like its own thing. Most impactful, I would have to say probably Consistently or My Stoning. And consistently because every time that I play a show or every time that I, find myself in a group of, if I don't even like to say this, but fans, if you will, um, they always mention Consistently. Like they every time. Every time I've ever done any kind of like meet and greet with people, they're just like Consistently, which is why again, like I really want to release a secondary version with the fiddle because I'm just like, oh, this is gonna hit. Um, and then My Stoning would be the second one because it is my testimony. And every time I sing it, I have a hard time keeping myself together. Like I will literally cry almost every time.
Hmm.
Like 98% of the time I'm crying when I sing
Hmm.
it. And so I feel like that translates to the people and it just becomes this like moment that we're having together. So, yeah.
Hmm. And of course, you mentioned My Stoning, which is one of my questions I was going to ask you about later, but we can touch on it now. Can you share the story behind that song? Because that's one of your more requested songs on the station as well.
Oh, that's so cool. Um, it's a long one, and so I'll give you like the Spark Notes version. I was in a hotel by myself. I was at a music conference in this tiny little town called Morden and Winkler, Manitoba. I think it's like a double town. I don't know what's going on there. But anyways, there was like one hotel and I was staying in this hotel by myself and I had just had a really, really crazy encounter with God. Like literally God spoke to me through someone and it was the most jarring experience of my life. Like I'm not even making that up. It was wild. And I was in this hotel room and I was just like praying. I was like, God, what was that? It was almost like humiliating because I don't know, you just think like, what does that person think of me? And trying to read between the lines, like, God, what did you mean by this? And, all this stuff. And just trying to have this like sincere conversation with the Lord and then getting nothing back. And it felt so, I don't know how to word it properly, but it felt, I was so vulnerable and it felt like I was being abandoned and I'd already been abandoned by a father and so I was just like, man, no, like I can't handle this again. And
Hmm.
so I don't even know how long, maybe hours. It felt like minutes, but I was just honestly praying and like I'll use this big word, this church Christianese word called travailing. I was like travailing. Like I just wanted to know what that was about so bad. And finally God took me to and it was just so organic. Like I had my phone beside me, like just chilling on the bed, and God took me to John chapter 4 and John chapter 8. And it's the woman at the well and the woman caught in adultery respectively. Sorry, what? Respectively. Um, and I remember reading those stories because that's just what I felt like God was telling me to do. And so I read them and I was just like, okay, I've never been caught in adultery or like I've never committed adultery to even be caught. I've never had five husbands. Like, what do I have in common with these women? And this feels like an attack. Like, are you telling me, like, is that in my future? I don't want that to be my future. What do I do? Like, that was where my head was going. Like, I was trying to just like rationalize, like, why in the world God would send me there. And so plainly, he was just like, that's your story. This one encounter with Jesus radically changed your life. And I want you to write a song about it. I was just like, what? Oh my gosh. And again, like I'm getting emotional talking about it because it's like it was so real. And so I grabbed my phone, or I guess I was already on it. I went to my notes and then I just started writing, like top to bottom, maybe 3 minutes, the whole song. Recorded a really quick voice note because I was nowhere near like a piano of how I thought it should go. And I remember my flight was leaving in like 2 hours or 3 hours. I had to leave for the
Oh
airport.
wow.
So I just like I went to the airport and the same guy that had spoken to me, like the Lord had used him to speak through me, he was the one that was driving me to the airport. And we had like 2 hours on the road together. So we were just kind of like, I don't know, having this moment where we were both just talking about like God and what I had experienced through him the night before and all this stuff. I remember getting home. My babies were very young still. I feel like my one wasn't even like walking. I run through the door and I remember like my kids were so happy to see me and I remember being like, move. And I ran to my piano and I just played it. And I was just like, wow. And my husband was just like, what was that? And like my kids were like, hi mom, what's wrong with you? And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's my stoning. And then I remember like urgently sending it to my producer and engineer being like, this needs to go out now. It didn't even get released until a year later. And I remember just being like, I need it out. And they were like, the time's not right. The time's not right. I was like, oh, who are you to tell me? The timing truly was not right. And so we did it at a time that made sense. And in the meantime, for that whole year, my engineer, Joe Salamita, he would play it for people that were in his studio because I had recorded like a scratch. And he would play it and it would just bring these people to tears. Like they would not know what to do with themselves. They
Wow.
were just like, what is that song? And so Joe was like, this is a super special song. Like we need to be really intentional with how we release it. And so, yeah, a year later, my stoning was released. We also did a live version that we recorded in the studio, which was also really special.
Mhm.
And I held it together because that was take number like 47.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I just kept crying. And so, yeah, we finally got it out and yeah, that's my stoning in a nutshell.
Well, thank you for sharing the story behind that song. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. This is where we really get to really dig deep and get to know the artist behind the music. So the first one I have for you is, what would you consider to be your biggest accomplishment? One in life, two in your music career so far.
Hmm. In life, I would say, honestly, this sounds so crazy. I don't know if it's an accomplishment that I can take credit for, but I will because you asked, and this is the best answer I can give. Marrying my husband was the best accomplishment. And I say that so sincerely because, like I kind of alluded to earlier, I had a really rough relationship with my dad. He was alcoholic, or sorry, he was an alcoholic. He was abusive and essentially like emotionally abandoned me very young. And I just assumed that I would marry someone just like him because that's what happens. You know, you usually go for someone
Yeah,
who's
like,
like
yeah.
your parent. And especially if you are a codependent and have a
Mm-hmm.
history with abuse and addiction, like you usually
Mm-hmm.
tend to gravitate towards those people. And somehow I fully give all the credit to God.
Yes.
Um, somehow I managed to snag the complete opposite. And like, I mean, so
Amen.
opposite that he's never even had, like, he doesn't even know what alcohol tastes like. He's never had a drink
Mm-hmm.
in his life. He doesn't,
Amen.
like, he doesn't swear. He's so gentle. He's so tender and like loves God with everything in his being. Um, he's so attuned, attuned to our children, like our two girls. He just loves them so much. And I just like, I'm like, I don't understand like how that even happened because that's not my instinct would have been to be needed by someone to be a
Mm-hmm.
codependent and to become an addict myself, you know what I mean? So that's definitely accomplishment number one for that. For music, oh, I don't know. You see these trophies on my wall behind me for those who are watching. And I mean this so respectfully to every organization that has ever given me anything. They don't really mean anything to me. Like, I think it's cool. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
cool to be like multi-award winning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If I went the rest of my life without one more accolade or anything, that wouldn't bother me at all. And it's not, I'm not even saying that in this like fake humility. I'm saying it because like I believe in my music. I believe that God has given me a gift. And I believe that serving my family, serving my local church, serving my community, whether it's like my actual community here where I live or my
Yes.
online community
Hmm.
in ways that edify, build them up, bring them closer to Jesus. To me, that is the most important accomplishment that I could ever do with my life. And if that's all I ever do, I and not get noticed for it, like that's cool. I'm good with that. So, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if that means anything or answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. It does. The next one we have for you: who's been the most impactful person in your life to help shape who you are today?
My husband, 100%,
Okay.
hands
All
down.
right.
I don't even
Mm-hmm.
need to like I already told you he's just
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. He also he's a very challenging, is that the
Mm-hmm.
right word? He challenges me. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
not a challenging person. He's a challenger. He
Mm-hmm.
he's always pulling me up and saying like, "Girl, you're better than this. Like I believe in
Mm-hmm.
you. I know that you were made for more." This guy prays for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's crazy. He's constantly praying for me. He's just like he's so tuned into what I need spiritually and
Yes.
he's just always he's doing that. So, um he's definitely he's that for me. 100%.
Okay. And then, as you mentioned, your mother as well. So, what has parenthood taught you about yourself, and um, what lessons that you learned from parenthood that you had to, I guess, quickly apply?
Who quickly, not so sure. I've done that right. Parenthood has taught me that I have so many more issues than I thought. It's taught me that I have I had severe trauma.
Mm.
Like some things in my childhood, actually, I there's a word for it and I forget it, but there's some parts of my childhood that I actually forgot. Is it called trauma blocked or something? I don't know the word. I had like blocked it
Similar
out.
to that, yeah. It's almost like it happened, but you try to, like you said, block it out. I know what you're talking about. It is a certain word for, but I can't think of it either. But I know what you're talking
That.
about.
So
That role.
there was like certain instances that happened that I actually didn't recollect until my dad passed away and family started to come from out of town and certain people freaked me out for no reason and then it was just like and then I talked to my mom and she was like, "Yeah, here's why when you were 8 years old, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And so like that's a small example, but
Yeah.
there's so much in me that gets triggered and
Hmm.
gets yeah, that gets brought to the surface that I
Hmm.
didn't even know was an issue. So,
Hmm.
children sent me to therapy like
Hmm.
very early on because I was like, I can't, oh my gosh. And I'll be honest, I know that, I don't know what you know or if you ever experienced this from, a spousal point of view with your own children, but
Hmm.
my postpartum depression was like dehumanizing.
Hmm.
It was freaking terrifying. And multiple times I remember being like, I understand why some moms
Hmm.
abandon their children or
Hmm.
launch them out the window into a
Hmm.
dumpster. Like, I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy right now for me to say, but in those early stages of like being a first time mom, I was just like, I'm terrified of myself. And I had
Hmm.
no idea what was going on. And my dad was like chronically depressed. And
Hmm.
And so when I went and first of all, they just threw medication at me, like, "Hey girl, no
Yeah.
problem. Here's some Zoloft."
Hmm. Hmm.
It wasn't until I actually got in to see a real therapist. Like I had lived in anger management and
Hmm.
psychiatrists my whole
Hmm.
childhood. So like
Hmm.
that element in counseling, that wasn't new, but to sit
Hmm.
down with a therapist and to do certain like healing tactics and like EMDR and to put myself through almost like trauma again so that we can
Hmm.
uncover it and heal it. Man,
Yeah.
that that was crazy. So
Hmm.
I don't even remember. Oh, the parent. I'm just like, where, how did I get here? I'm like, yeah,
It's okay. It's
no.
okay.
Being a mom taught me that there was a lot of myself that was uncovered for a very long time. And if I didn't address it when I did, I I don't truthfully, I look at the camera, I look at you in the eye, I would not be here today. I 100% know that. So, if not unalived, I would for sure be addicted to some really crazy drugs. Like I just know it. So, I give God the glory for that, but I also
Yes.
I'm thankful that I had a support system like a husband that was willing to say like, girl, you ain't right. Like we need to dig into this and figure out like how we get you out of whatever this is. Like he didn't know about
Indeed.
it, so
Hmm.
it was new for both of us. But yeah,
Hmm. And then when it comes to your kids as well, uh, which one reminds you of yourself the most?
it's hilarious that you should ask. We were just talking about this because I see one side of myself in one and another side of myself in the other. My oldest is like, well, she's an oldest, I'm an oldest, so there's kind of
Hmm.
overlap with that really right off the bat.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a perfectionist. She's also very um she's also very tender-hearted.
Hmm.
And I would consider myself kind of a hard person, like face to face. I'm hard a little bit. I
Hmm.
don't know if you do the Enneagram, people believe in it. I'm whatever about it, but like I'm a type 8, and so
Yeah.
I'm very like But beneath the surface and not very far beneath the surface, I am so soft. And like we're talking about the music industry,
Hmm.
it's hard for me because I take everything personally. It's
Hmm.
hard for me to even like tracking vocals here in my little
Hmm.
studio is it's a task because I'm such a perfectionist and I'm so hard on myself. And I see that in my daughter. I have done
Hmm.
nothing but encourage her as far as I
Hmm.
know, and it's like innately in her. So I think it's like a first child thing in some regard. Like you
Yes.
know. And then my other one is crazy. She's a nut. And when she gets into these like neurodivergent,
Hmm.
that's what I'm gonna call it because like I'm calling it now. She's crazy. I love it though. She's so funny. When she
Hmm.
gets into these moods, like I cannot like I see so much of myself in her because
Hmm.
I mean right before we were having supper tonight, we were playing um we were playing restaurant and I was the
Hmm.
cook and
Hmm.
I just decided like, you know what? We're gonna talk like we're from Manhattan. And you're gonna come into my restaurant, you little punk, both of you little punks. You're gonna come in here, you're gonna find yourself a seat, and if you don't have a reservation, we gotta sit you at the bar. Is that all right? Like it's crazy. And then Indy, like my youngest, she just like owns the role. She goes into
Yeah.
this like she's like, listen here, you're not gonna serve us at a table, then we're not
Hmm.
paying for our food. Like, it's
Hmm.
just like she's 7 years old and she like gives me right back to me in the funniest way
Hmm.
all the time. It's so good. So, anyways, I don't
It's
know. A
amazing.
little bit of both for sure.
That's amazing. It might have to get her in some TV shows up there. Call
I don't
what's the name? Mercer Nicole. Hey, if you listen to Mercer Nicole, if we can get on some of these shows with you.
Yeah, Marissa, hit me up. Hit me up if you need someone from New York to do some voicing for you. But the person is actually from Saskatchewan, Canada. It's weird. I can't put my finger on it, but I don't know.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And
Uh,
then, and then of course, when you're not with the family or doing music or ministering in the community, what are some of your hobbies?
oh, my life, my brain, my whole being revolves around music in every way, shape, and form. Like I have no hobbies because my hobbies are what I love to do for
Hmm.
kind of a living.
Hmm.
Like truly, I love to bake and I
Hmm.
own a restaurant with my family, so I get to bake
Nice.
as much as I want. And
Hmm.
music, I think in music, I see music in colors and shapes, and so I'm just like, music is everywhere to me. Even
Hmm.
the inflection in someone's voice, I'm just like,
Hmm.
ah, yellow. Like it's
Yeah,
uh,
that's really cool. And then for the ones that don't know about the restaurant, can you share a little bit about that as well?
So I am a third generation restaurateur of a Greek and Canadian restaurant.
Nice.
And so we have been in business this year for 55 years. Of course, I wasn't around for all of that. Or maybe I have and I just use really good skincare. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so yeah, my mom, this is even like before her time. My
Hmm.
grandparents have been in Lloydminster where I live for. since 1970.
Hmm.
So it's pretty special to be in the community in that capacity because, I mean, in theory, like my grandparents are pillars of the community, and in theory, people
Hmm.
place me and my mom and my family like within that pillar, even though I've
Hmm.
done nowhere near as much to contribute. But it's just like
Hmm.
you kind of have to live that life,
Yes.
and it's cool and it's special, but it also comes with, with great power comes great responsibility.
Responsibility. Yeah, for sure, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
And then, um, what is the hours of operation and address so people can, definitely provide support?
Hey, come through. Listen, we're in Canada's only border city, Lloydminster, Alberta slash Saskatchewan.
Hmm.
Located on the Alberta side of the big red poles, you will find us at 1408 50th Avenue, and our hours of operation are Tuesday to Sunday, 11 to
Hmm.
9:30, except for on Sunday it's 12 to 9, and closed for Mondays because family means
Hmm.
everything.
Yes. And then if a person was coming, I guess, from America or Jamaica and they saw your menu, what would be the number one thing that you recommend they
Ooh. Okay. If you're coming from America, like don't eat the American foods. Like,
eat?
you know what chicken fingers and fries are.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what, like,
yeah.
fish and chips. Like,
Hmm.
don't eat that
Yeah.
stuff. Come
Hmm.
for the Greek cuisine. We make it all in
Hmm.
house.
Hmm.
I'm a huge fan of dolmadas. So those are
Hmm.
like cabbage. They're like Greek cabbage rolls.
Yes.
It's grapevine
Hmm.
leaves with stuffing, and I think it's like ground beef, lamb, rice, and
Nice.
herbs. So good. We have
Hmm.
our famous avgolemono soup, which is like um chicken, lemon, and rice. I'm looking at the camera like now all of a sudden I'm like on a commercial. And so those are my top two. And then we have homemade desserts in house. And so like
Okay.
I always love to give a shout out to the chef
Hmm.
who makes these desserts, who slaves over them. No, I'm just kidding. But I
Yeah.
do love it. It's a labor of love. So we have baklava. We have a baklava
Hmm.
cheesecake that is something
Nice.
that's fairly new to the menu. Like the last couple of
Hmm.
years, people have been like freaking out over it. And so I'm here for that.
Hmm.
We have a thing
Hmm.
called ekmek kadaifi. We
Okay.
have what else do we have that's delicious? Um, yeah, everything else really is
Yeah.
good, but creme
So it
brulee.
can't go wrong. So guys, you can't go wrong. So like everything is on point, and you're gonna come back and be returning customers. Um,
Yes.
even if you
We have
live
like
outside the country,
we
gonna
have
be
nothing
returning.
spicy though. So for the Jamaicans that want to have a little fun, like
Mhm.
you're gonna have to come for the garlic and the lemon. Like we don't have anything to meet your level of
Spice.
flavoring.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. And then, of course, before we go, what else is coming up for you this year? And also, can you share your social media handles as well?
Yeah, so my social media handles have gone dark recently, but
Mhm.
not in like a bad way. I do this thing that's against every rule in the social media handbook, and that is every time I feel like something, no, every time there is a shift coming, every time
Mhm.
something big is on the horizon, I like to archive my socials and just like leave it
Mhm.
blank for a while and just take some time to like reflect and
Mhm.
prepare. And so I have done that, which means that there's not a lot happening. I do share on my stories, but and there is like there will be stuff coming very, very soon. But
Mhm.
for now, you can find me at Elenee M Young on all the social media handle or
Mhm.
pages. That's my handle for everything.
Mhm.
And what's coming? So let's see. What do I share here? I have a 17 song project, a record of covers
Mhm.
that I'm very excited about. These songs
Nice.
are, I co-produced the album, and that's a first for me. I'm so, so
Mhm.
excited about that. They were all taken from those covers that went viral on Instagram a few years ago, or just like within the last few years. And
Mhm.
so it's based on that. I'm partnered with the
Yes.
geez, and Mass Anthem. So
Mhm.
they have been incredible to work with. And y'all, if you are doing music, like hit them up because they have some incredible like promotional stuff as well. I got over 100,000 streams in a week
Mhm.
for goodness of God when it released. Like that was crazy. So that's one project. The other thing is I'm going to be tying up some loose ends, if you will.
Mhm.
Just a little Easter egg I'll drop there.
Okay.
And I have an originals album that will be coming out in the fall, which I know that we're in the fall, and I don't really
Mm-hmm.
know when that's going to be. Um,
And
I,
God's timing.
once I know, you will all know too. But for now,
Yes.
I'm just like, whenever it happens, it happens.
It's on the way, y'all. It's on the way.
On the way. Yes.
Then for the ones that want to book you, how can they book you in for the fans of or supporters uh, or family, whichever one you refer to them as? How can they sow a seed into the ministry as well?
Listen, you can just find me. Um, You can email me. Just email me. Let's chat. Let's be friends. DM me on
Hmm.
the socials. Like, I'm so down to earth and chill. I am not
Hmm.
above talking to anybody. Like, that's not how I roll. I hope that that
Hmm.
translates through our interview
Yes.
tonight. I'm
Hmm.
just the normalest person. That's very weird.
Hmm.
So you can email me hello@elenee.ca, or you can find me on socials and send me a DM. Either way, I will answer you and we will have a great time.
Hmm. Well, guys, we're joined by the incredible Elenee. Um, I have a couple songs I want to throw out because, yes, yeah, like I said earlier, your catalog is like ridiculous. You play a lot of your songs. Um, I'm kind of torn with Deaths or um, I know I'm gonna play one song right now, but I don't want it. Which one do you prefer out of those two?
Oh, that's such a good question. I hate it so much. I do not like this question at all. I don't want it is so fun. Like I said, I already alluded. It's like one of my catchiest bridges I think I've ever written, and I love
Hmm.
that. Depths is one of my favorite collaborations of all time with one of my favorite artists,
Hmm.
co-producers, and like best friend, little brother ever. So it's hard to
Hmm.
pick. For the sake of promoting another artist as well, let's do Depths. And it
Okay.
is a song all about just falling into the depths of who God is and his love
Hmm.
for us and how we just want to go deeper into a relationship with God. It all started with producer Cam Tarvin sending us
Hmm.
a track to top line on, and it didn't take us long to write this song top to bottom. And there's a
Hmm.
saxophone solo. So who
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
love
yeah.
that?
Well, so that I don't get in trouble by the listeners, I'm gonna play both of them back to back. Okay, so I'm gonna start with that, so then and then we're gonna go top. I don't want it, just
Let's
in case some of the listeners try to roll up on me and like, hey, you should play this one too. We'll play both of them back to back, but like I said,
love
we'll
it.
start with this, and then also guys, just support. When you see her come to your country or your city, make sure you go out, get your tickets early. Don't wait till the last minute. Support. Let's sell her events out, and like I said, sow into her ministry and download from the first songs all the way up until now and the future stuff. Download. Don't just stream it, download it because that helps the artists out a whole lot more. And like I said, buy those tickets. All right, guys, we're joined by the one, the only Elenee. So keep it locked here on the ReShard show. Come up. We have Gus with Elenee and our brother Kagan, who will be coming on in a couple of days as well. So here's the gym right here, right now.
Amazing. Thank you so much.